In between working, buying, and consuming, society says you should also have children, so the system has more slaves to exploit, otherwise it can't function. Whenever someone has a child, it's almost inevitable that he or she will grow up to be just another slave. Just being alive isn't enough to earn them the right to have access to basic things like food, water, and shelter. When they grow up, they'll have to sell their souls at some mindless job for these things. Unfortunately, until the world and the people in it change, having children is basically bringing someone into a world where they're gonna suffer, be used, and exploited. You could say that's a negative perspective, but it's also the reality for millions of children around the world. Here's just one picture to illustrate my point. This is a picture of a woman in 1948 selling her children because her husband was jobless, so they couldn't afford rent and to keep feeding the children. This is a direct consequence of living in a world that basically worships money. And today there are people who sell their children for much worse reasons, like drugs and so on. All this is proof that we do not live in a sane world. It's a world where most people are generally unhappy, living repetitive lives where they basically have freedom like 2 days a week if they're lucky. Even those with more time on their hands are still unhappy. Some people don't even know what to do with themselves when they're not at work, so they keep working so that they can afford to buy things and consume, and then have children and pass on their unconsciousness onto those children. Once the children are born, they come into a world where they have to do things just to justify their existence. They have to be somebody in the world. They have to get a job, be ambitious, climb the ladder. Because they say if you don't work, you don't eat. And the same people who say that don't like their jobs like everyone else. And they also mindlessly have children like everyone else. And those children end up stuck in the same position as them, continuing the cycle, until one day when humanity has a mass awakening and finally becomes sane.